Hi everybody, I'm Jason.
And I'm Amy.
And welcome to our 10-minute reviews, where every single review is 10 minutes or less-ish. Occasionally we may have one that goes a little bit longer, but we're going to try and keep them at 10 minutes or less. And our primary focus, obviously, is books, but we will do movies and things along those lines as well. And we will focus on, I'm going to say, lesser-known type authors. You know, we're not going to talk about Stephen King, George R.R. Martin, J.R.R. Tolkien. Everybody knows about those. Yeah, we absolutely could. I mean, we've got 9 bookshelves overflowing with books, plus all the ones we've gotten rid of over the years. But we want to talk about authors that that might be slightly lesser known. If you're within a certain genre, you're probably still going to know them. So for today, we are going to talk about a book, Superpowers, Volume 1 by Drew Hayes. We're not going to get too much into Drew Hayes because we are going to do a review just of him as an author. He is one of our favorite authors. We just want to talk about the very first book. Gotta say, highly, highly, highly recommended. If you're into the superpowers kind of the superhero sort of genre, absolutely, this is one of the ones that I would recommend over almost any book. It's one of the first ones I recommended to her. It's just fantastic. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely incredible. The things he writes very well. Very short chapters, and I don't know if you know why, but the reason that he has such short chapters was he originally wrote all 4 of the books in the series as a web series. So he would post a chapter twice a week, and those chapters are 2 pages long, 3 pages long. Then once it was all finished, then the book ended up coming out. So you could read it online a week at a time if you really wanted to. Absolutely phenomenal. Not only does he write great, not only does he have an incredible plot, he's incredibly clever with the superpowers he came up with, the way they're used. And
they're not your usual trope.
Right. It's just, I mean, they're not your standard, roll 2d10 and check the table kind of thing. Some of these powers are really cool, and then how they use them. He puts a lot of thought. He's put so much thought into these powers, how they work, how they can be used. Oddly enough, for a superpower thing, there's a lot of logic that goes on behind it.
A lot.
So not going to get into any spoilers or anything quite yet, but just the overall plot line. So Superpowers, it's a 4-book series, 4-book series.
4-series book.
And we will review every single one of the books, but it's 4 books because it's set in a college, and it's all 4 years of their college. Basically, it's a secret superhero college, and people with powers, they apply. But the hook behind this book is there's 2 classes of people that have superpowers. There's those that are your Superman and your Flash and all that they have these powers, and they can consciously use them, I suppose, is the best way, and they just need to learn how to use them better and how to be heroes and tactics and things along those lines. But they can control their powers. Then there's another class of people, I would almost call them the lower class, that's how they're treated, called Powards, where they have superpowers, but they're absolutely outside of their control. For instance, the guy that they mentioned in the book, that he can teleport, but only when he sneezes, and it's random. He has no idea where he's going to teleport to. Things along those lines.
That would be terrible.
Yeah, and although it's a great escape mechanism, so he carried a feather with him. So those were the lower class people. They were shunned, basically. Because they're dangerous, they're unpredictable, so on and so forth. And a secret group comes up with a serum that gives powered people the ability to control their power. So they use it on 5 college-age kids, or kids just getting ready to go to college, they're not all college age, but right around that frame. Yeah, college candidates. They use it on 5 of them to let them control their powers, and then they send them to the superhero academy, the superhero college, as an experiment. Now, they don't tell everybody that these guys are this lower form of powers, and that's the plot of the first book. Is their first year, their freshman year. All 4 books: freshman year, sophomore year, senior year, junior year. I missed one, and and a couple underlying plot lines, because there's additional mysteries behind it. You know, where did the serum come from? What is the connection to these particular powered people? Why were
Why them?
they selected? And
What it could mean for
every, so it's absolutely fast. We cannot recommend Superpowers Volume 1 any stronger. This is by far a 10 for 10 recommendation.
absolutely. Well, everything he's written is just 10 for 10.
Yes, and we will definitely talk about, well, maybe not everything, but
Well, everything I've read.
now,
he's written.
that being said, spoilers are ahead. So if you don't want any spoilers, now's the time to turn this video off and go find the book. Find it on Amazon. That's where you're going to find it. Okay, so spoilers ahead. So the first year of the series, you come to know these characters. Vince with the ability to absorb, he's an absorber. Nick with the power to influence luck. You've got Angela with the power to fly, which the uncontrollable side of it was pretty funny. She's basically a freaking balloon. And you had Mary the telekinetic. And then one of the more interesting ones, you had Herschel. Herschel and Roy. Consider themselves brothers, but Herschel has absolutely zero superpowers, except that he could turn into Roy, who is basically a tank, super strong tank. And they, as they're learning how to use their powers and get better at them, and they learn more and more secrets about their powers, such as it turns out Angela is not a flyer. She's a gravity manipulator. Nick, or Vince, is not your standard absorber, because absorbers can absorb one thing, or if they're a multi-absorber, they have a very small reservoir of how much they can absorb. Nick turns out to be a multi-absorber. In fact, by the end of the series, he has not found what he cannot absorb yet, and he also has not found his upper limit to how much he can absorb. The dude absorbs an entire forest fire,
Which is
so he has
intense.
enough fire at his disposal for
A forest fire?
for the next 4 years. Actually, I don't think he ever has to absorb again after he absorbs the
From
forest fire.
Bic lighters.
Yeah, he used to absorb Bic lighters and a lightning storm. So they realize they learn a little bit more about their powers, but then they also learn that Angela's father's power is a super, was a legacy, a big name super, and there's a lot of mysteries with her mother having disappeared, and her father's very rich but very shady. Nick is basically a mobster's kid. There's some shadiness there, a lot of shadiness and mysteries going on there. Herschel and Roy, their father is the most famous superhero on the planet, but is also a pariah because he cheated on his wife and got caught, and turned out he was gay, and that made him a pariah at the time. But he's still the most powerful, most famous superhero on the planet, and they hate his guts. So there's some mysteries there going on. Mary had some very odd things in her past, and Vince was homeless and adopted by what turned out to be also one of the most famous heroes to have ever been a hero.
Most infamous.
Well, that eventually became a criminal, a supervillain, and died. It was killed, except that he adopted Vince after he was supposed to have been killed.
Dun, dun, dun.
So there's then some of their classmates, such as Chad, who's got a really cool power, is a
Also
legacy.
a legacy.
He has the exact same power as his father, who was also a legendary hero that went through the class at the same time as Vince's adopted father, and was supposedly killed was killed by Vince's adopted father. So you've got all these legacies and these mysteries, and eventually the kidnapping attempt on Vince that gets foiled, or on Herschel. I'm sorry, Herschel's the one that gets foiled by the group and is perpetrated by one of their instructors. And it's absolutely fascinating, absolutely fascinating. The book ties up a lot of loose ends while leaving a whole bunch of mysteries going for the rest of them. So the book should definitely self-contained, while also opening things up for the entire world. So Superpowers Volume 1, we cannot recommend this book any stronger than we are. It is absolutely freaking fascinating. So you guys got to check it out. Thank you everybody for watching. We will catch you next time.
Bye.
Bye now.